Marijuana is legal in D.C. Could prostitution be far behind? Two D.C. council members say yes, and Bruce LaShan joins us here in the studio with the details. Hi, Bruce.
Yeah, Adam. D.C. councilmember David Grosso wants to legalize the buying and selling of sex, and he has introduced a bill that would do just that. Pimping, trafficking, child abuse, all those would still be illegal, but not a commercial sex transaction between consenting adults.
What we're doing right now with prostitution laws in the city isn't working.
Cindy Clay has spent a quarter of a century helping and counseling sex workers in D.C. She is now coordinating the Sex Worker Advocates Coalition, which is pushing to legalize prostitution in the city.
If someone is on the streets for survival, these laws keep them there. These laws make it harder for them to change their lives.
Legalization advocates say a prostitution arrest only makes it more difficult for someone to find another job. It can cost them their home and leave them even more desperate.
We don't want anyone to be forced to work the streets. We don't want anyone to be abused. But what these laws are doing is it's pitting law enforcement and our communities against people who need our help.
The argument has been raging around the world for years. Amnesty International supports decriminalization, but celebrities like the actresses Meryl Streep and Lena Dunham argue that prostitution inevitably leads to the trafficking of vulnerable women.
It's still illegal in the District of Columbia to traffic someone, to exploit somebody or coerce them into sexual acts.
Councilmember David Grosso introduced the legalization plan, and he realizes neighbors in some communities struggling with a lot of street prostitution are likely to be alarmed.
Of course, we don't want used condoms or people having sex in the yards or on the streets.
People will still be able to call the police for noise complaints. People will still be able to call the police for trash complaints.
Grosso tells the story of one sex worker who has been stabbed and almost killed by a client, but she has always been afraid to call the police or even go to the hospital because she is afraid she would go there and get arrested. Adam?
Thanks, Bruce. Well, Grosso admits he's a lonely voice on this one so far. Just one other council member co-sponsored the legislation. Grosso says it could be years before he's able to convince a majority of lawmakers to go along with that plan.